All right. Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. My name is Jessica Johnson. I'm coming here today from Bonaire, and I'm going to start our first panel on funding, policy, and advocacy. And my topic today is discussing how we can integrate our projects into local, national, and international agendas to provide a level of stability. So although we all come from a wide variety of different places, our projects span a lot of different topics. There are some pretty universal issues we all have. We have a lot of different stakeholders who have a lot of different uses for the area that we might be operating in. This can create a very complex system. All of our projects take money. They usually take more money than we originally planned, so that requires a lot of coordination. And they all take a lot of time, but also needed to have happened 5 years ago. So you're in this process of constantly trying to speed up a process while also doing it in a way that is responsible and sustainable. And ideally, when we have a project, we have an idea, we might go online, figure out who else is doing this. We go look for funding opportunities. We apply for a grant. The grant is given. We're able to piece our team together. We go in. We're able to execute this project seamlessly. And then in the end, we have this beautiful end result. But we all know it's usually something like this. So it's usually 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 6-month delay in scheduling, which means that scientist you were going to bring in is no longer available. So you have this capacity issue. And so what I'm going to talk about today is a way to try to safeguard against this a bit. So by integrating our projects into local, national, and international agendas, you're able to leverage the available resources to stabilize your financial security for the long term. And so hopefully this allows your project to continue even over these speed humps. So today I'm going to talk about the 3 levels. And I'm going to use a case study on Bonaire as an example. So let's start with local agendas. So to give you a little bit of background, I'm coming from the island of Bonaire. It's a Dutch Caribbean island in the South Caribbean, just off the coast of Venezuela. It is one of 3 islands which make up the ABC Islands. So that's Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, and Bonaire is the one furthest to the east. On the island, we have a bay called Loch Bay, which is very important environmentally. It's the largest mangrove forest within the Dutch Caribbean. It has huge seagrass beds, which are really important for protected green turtle and conch populations. It's economically very important. It's an area with a lot of recreational use. And it's also culturally important. Almost every local goes to this bay to use it with their family, to fish. So it spans everyone on the island is using this area. So today I'm coming here having worn many hats. I work both with the Park Service, the NAPA, but also an NGO, Mangrove Maniacs. So when we were trying to come up with a project, you first have to think what you want to do. And so we knew we wanted to work with mangroves. And then you have to ask yourself, who is responsible for this area? So in our particular case, the area is owned by the local government, public entity Bonaire, but they've mandated the management to it to the Park Service, the NAPA. So now when we're looking at the local level, we have to consider both parties. So where do you start? Look at your managing documents that have already been created for these areas. So you can look at things like strategic plans, master plans. After COVID, everyone's got a recovery plan and management plans. And look at the strategic goals and objectives outlined by the managing authority and then figure out how your project can help them reach their goals. Because at the end of the day, every organization is underfunded and short-staffed. So if you can find a way to help bridge that gap, that's going to make it easier for you to acquire funding through them. Okay. Next, we'll go up a level. So now we'll talk about at a national level. So I already mentioned that Bonaire is part of the Dutch Caribbean, but the Dutch Caribbean itself is a bit special. There are 6 islands that make up the Dutch Caribbean. 3 of them are autonomous islands, so they're more or less independent, and 3 of them are special municipalities, which means they have a closer relationship to the kingdom. Bonaire happens to be a special municipality, which is to our benefit because that gives us a little bit more access to the kingdom level funding. So what this means is that every government has made international agreements and obligations and has to report on their status of their environmental well-being. So what you can do is look at these international agreements. We've got the CBD, SPA protocol, CMS, CITES, IAC. There's a whole alphabet soup of different things that governments have agreed to. Figure out what the government has told the outside world they will do and find out how you can help the government do that. So for Bonaire, as an example, this was quite easy because the Dutch government has created something called the Nature and Environmental Policy Plan. This is strategic goals to represent the 3 islands in the Dutch Caribbean. And there they've listed out black and white what they expect to do. So what we do as a program is look at the strategic goals that relate to mangroves, and we go to the national government and tell them, if you expect to meet these goals, you need to do this, this, and this, and we're here to help. And actually, this has allowed us to apply and successfully gain this funding. So now we've got local funding from the local government, and we've got national funding through this. Which leaves us with our final piece in the puzzle, which is the international agendas. So again, our region is quite special actually, because we represent OCTs, autonomous countries. We have different trade agreements. We have all sorts of obligations across the region. So you just have to figure out where you fit in the puzzle. So on wherever you're from, look at what other projects are doing and look at who's funding those. If you happen to be an OCT, you can often look to the EU for funding. You can look at, there's private organizations like WWF, Oceans 5, that are also often available for funding. And what you're going to want to do is just start following these programs. And when they have a call for action, apply. And you'd be amazed at how easy it is to actually get the funding, because people are often intimidated by this and don't apply. So actually, just by being competitive and getting in the field, you'd be surprised at how successful you can be. So in summary, it probably bears repeating, but get organized. If you can get yourself a very solid proposal, you'd be amazed at what that would help you. As scientists, we tend to kind of just Frankenstein different things that we've written together and at the last minute throw in a proposal. And although that technically meets the requirements, it doesn't help the person reading it really understand what you're doing. So if you can clearly articulate what are you doing and why is it important, it will get you miles ahead. And what that might mean is you have to invest in getting your proposal professionally written. And the key is, if you get it professionally written one time, you can usually reuse this by shaping it to meet the reporting requirements for future proposals. But really spend the time to articulate what you want, and this will help you stay competitive. Be realistic in your goals. Don't promise the world and then under-deliver, because next time you ask for money, they're going to be like, no, we've done that. It didn't work. So it's way better to under-promise, over-deliver, and grow your project over time. Which brings me to my next point of staying consistent. If you can show a history of, well, we asked for this funding, we said we would do this, and we did it. Then we asked for this, we said we would do it, and then we did it. It's going to be a lot easier for people to fund your project. And engage volunteers. I think volunteers are often overlooked, but they can be a huge resource. And it does take time. It does take an investment, but you'd be amazed at the pool of expertise that might be in your local community that you'll be able to bring into the project. And more importantly, diversify your funding sources. So if you are reliant on a single avenue for funding, then that puts you at jeopardy if agendas change or if the winds change, then your project might have a dip. So if you can touch into these 3 pools, it'll give you a little bit of stability over time. All right, thank you very much.